Prime Field.
On February 14, 2026, inside the Al McGuire Center in Milwaukee, the nation's top-ranked program faced its most stubborn Big East test of the season. UConn won 71-56. But the final score concealed a different story. In just 10 minutes of action, Serah Williams, twice named Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten, recorded 2 points, 1 made field goal on 2 attempts, 2 fouls, 1 block, and 5 rebounds. For a player who arrived in stores with a defensive resume that bordered on statistical abnormality, those 10 minutes became a flashpoint. In the days that followed, the discourse surged. On community hubs like the Boneyard, the word bust shifted from fringe exaggeration to a central accusation. The paradox at the center of that anger is blunt. A Defensive Player of the Year who in this game did not stabilize the defense. This documentary examines how that reputational slide happened, why the UConn staff chose sophomore Geno Alfie in key stretches, and what specific adjustment could flip Williams from a liability back into a functional weapon within UConn's system. The answer is not found in effort narratives. It is found in role, timing, and scheme, and it begins with the receipts. Serah Williams did not enter UConn as a projection. She entered with proof. At Wisconsin, she compiled a defensive profile that was rare even by major conference standards. She won Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in 2023 and 24. She earned 4 consecutive Big Ten All-Defensive Team selections. She set the Big Ten record for consecutive double-doubles, 17. And during her sophomore season, she led the conference in blocks at 2.8 per game. Across 3 years at Wisconsin, her career average reflected a player who stayed on the floor and controlled games. Nearly 29 minutes per game, more than 16 points, more than 8 rebounds, more than 2 blocks, and a shot diet that matched a first-option role, over 12 field goal attempts per game. That profile is the foundation of the expectation, and it's why the Marquette box score landed with such force. 10 minutes, 2 points, 2 total shot attempts, and a foul rate that prevented continuity. Against Marquette, Williams produced 5 rebounds. But UConn still lost the rebounding battle, 42-29, while allowing 14 offensive boards. In the most physical Big East game UConn had played, a decorated interior defender did not secure ownership of the glass. The question then becomes specific. How does a defender built to anchor a front court become a player the coaching staff cannot trust in high-leverage minutes? The next evidence is not emotional, it is rotational. Coaches rarely announce distrust. They distribute it. The most objective measure of faith is the allocation of minutes during the game's decisive sequences. Against Marquette, Geno delivered a clear rotation vote. Williams played 10 minutes. Geno Alfie played 16. That is 60% more floor time for a sophomore reserve than the veteran starter she was effectively replacing. And the timing mattered. Williams did not receive minutes during Marquette's most competitive stretches in the second half. The substitution was not cosmetic. It was tactical. UConn entered the game 27-0. In a season framed around national title expectations, Auriemma showed he would not jeopardize the record by leaving a struggling defender on the floor. The context sharpens the decision. Sarah Strong was battling illness and an ankle injury entering the stretch of the season. Even with the front court under stress, Williams still could not earn extended run. That is not simply a cold shooting night. It is a breakdown in trust on the specific details UConn demands. Defensive coverages, rebounding discipline, and functional connectivity. Alfie recorded just 1 assist in the game, a pass to AZ Fudd. But within UConn's framework, that small statistic signaled something larger. The staff saw a center who kept the offense connected, and the defense aligned. For Williams, the message was unavoidable. Her resume was not enough to secure the program's most valuable currency, trust minutes. To understand why, the analysis moves from rotation patterns to the film level tells. The DPOY who can't defend narrative is built on moments, not slogans. Against Marquette, 3 recurring defensive errors became visible targets. The first tell was timing on stunt and help responsibilities. In UConn's aggressive man-to-man, the post is required to show, then recover, with urgency. At the 8:19 mark of the first quarter, Jadine Mason scored on a jumper as interior help arrived late. The sequence resembled a defender locked in drop coverage habits, stationary, reactive, a half step behind. The second tell was communication on switches and ball screen actions. During an 11-0 Marquette run, UConn's defense appeared misaligned. The ball moved. Open looks appeared, and the breakdowns carried the signature of miscommunication rather than effort. The third tell was the most damaging, the glass. Marquette secured 14 offensive rebounds. Overall, the Golden Eagles won the rebound margin by 13, 42-29. For a roster featuring a 6'4" defender with elite rebounding history, that margin represented structural leakage. Williams collected 5 rebounds in her 10 minutes, but the game demanded more than individual per-minute production. It demanded consistent inside position and repeated box-outs against a methodical team committed to paint pressure. In contrast, Serah Strong recorded 3 blocks. Williams recorded 1. In this matchup, the team's most reliable interior anchor was not the senior transfer. It was the sophomore. These tells are not presented as character flaws. They are processing errors, and that distinction matters because it points toward a root cause that is less visible in a box score: scheme shock. At Wisconsin, Williams thrived within a defensive philosophy that often favored containment. Structures like the 1-3-1 zone and traditional drop coverage asked the post to be a wall, to control space, to limit paint touches, to rebound. In that environment, positioning mattered more than constant rapid reads. UConn's defense is built differently. It is not designed to merely contain. It is designed to create disruption, pressure, deflections, quick hands, rapid rotations. The system thrives when every player makes fast, correct decisions on hedges, tags, rollers, and weak side responsibilities. Against Marquette, that demand was magnified. Marquette controlled tempo early. UConn scored just 36 points in the first half, and as fewest in any half this season. The game slowed, half-court possessions stretched, and every rotation by the post was examined repeatedly. UConn forced 22 turnovers. That number masked some breakdowns, but it also highlighted the tension. The defense operated like a speed train. Williams, a defender forged in a containment environment, appeared to be boarding late. Her UConn minutes have already fallen to 18.7 per game, a sharp drop from the 32.0 she averaged as a junior at Wisconsin. The gap is measurable, and the gap becomes more visible when compared to the player gaining the staff's trust. The most stinging part of the Marquette narrative was not just what Williams failed to do. It was what Jenna El-Alfi did instead. El-Alfi's impact was not defined by volume. It was defined by stability. She shot 2 for 2 from the field. She finished with 2 fouls in 16 minutes. She produced 3 defensive rebounds, matching Williams' defensive rebound volume while playing longer and in more consequential stretches. Her true shooting percentage for the game was perfect. Williams was .500, but the deeper separation appeared in the flow of her minutes. El-Alfi stayed vertical at the rim. She avoided gambles that trigger foul trouble. She communicated early, and she kept rotations clean enough for the rest of the defense to function. Within UConn's framework, that is a form of scoring, not on the stat sheet, in the structure. The comparison also reshaped fan expectations. Williams arrived as a missing piece, a specialist designed to solidify the front court alongside Serah Strong. Instead, in the season's most physical conference test, the staff prioritized a returner who fit the system's non-negotiables. That is not a condemnation of talent. It is a statement about compatibility, and it connects to another pressure point that accelerates the criticism: offense. In modern basketball evaluation, offensive stagnation often becomes the lens through which defense is judged. If Williams were producing at her Wisconsin scoring level, many of these defensive lapses would be labeled adjustment costs. But at UConn, her offensive role has collapsed into hesitation. Against Marquette, she attempted only 2 shots. She made 1. She committed 1 turnover in 10 minutes. Her turnover percentage during her time on the floor was 33.3%, the highest on the team. Her offensive rating in the game was 92. These numbers explain why specific possessions became symbolic. A missed seal, a hesitation catch at the high post, a stalled action that forces the team deeper into a half-court set. UConn's greatest strength is tempo and transition. When a post touch kills flow, the defense is forced to defend longer. When the defense is forced to defend longer, rotation mistakes become louder. In Milwaukee, Marquette played a methodical style. The blueprint was clear: slow the game, crash the glass, force UConn into extended half-court possessions. If that blueprint repeats, UConn's interior rotation will be stress-tested again. And for Williams, the path back into trust minutes cannot be abstract. It has to be operational, a reset. Redemption for Serah Williams does not begin with messaging. It begins with simplification. The Marquette game exposed a leakage point other opponents will target: defensive rebounding and half-court durability. To counter that, the fix list must be clinical. First, defensive discipline. Williams must abandon gambling for blocks and returns to verticality. For a reset period, the mandate is simple: 0 gambles, no reach-ins, no speculative contests that compromise rebounding position. Second, box-out measurement. The target is not more effort. It is a trackable sequence. 3 straight possessions with perfect box outs. Repeat it until it becomes automatic. Third, rebounding baseline. Williams' historical profile suggests an 8 to 10 rebound standard as the threshold for controlling the glass. That is the baseline required to neutralize the offensive rebounding column that Marquette exploited. Fourth, early callouts. UConn's defense collapses when the post is late to communicate. The adjustment is to shift Williams' focus from reaction to an anticipation. Early tags, early talk, early positioning. Finally, offensive role reduction. The staff can strip the menu down to 2 actions: rim runs, duck-ins, finish plays that do not require hesitation decisions. These are not cosmetic changes. They are structural steps designed to reintegrate a player into a defense built on speed and precision. UConn's league win streak provides a margin for experimentation, but March does not. The question is no longer whether Williams has been elite. The question is whether she can be functional inside UConn's chaos, at the exact moment the season demands it most. That question leads directly into the larger consequence: legacy. Serah Williams arrived at UConn with a reputation forged in production. Awards, records, defensive dominance. In Wisconsin's system, she was a centerpiece. At UConn, she has become a test case. A case study in how elite individual defense can fail to translate when the surrounding architecture changes. The February 14th, 2026 win at Marquette did not damage UConn in the standings. It protected an undefeated record, it extended a conference streak, and it reinforced the program's position as a national title favorite. But it also revealed a specific vulnerability: defensive rebounding and half-court rotation discipline that can narrow margins against disciplined opponents. Within that vulnerability sits an unresolved decision. In March, does UConn trust the veteran resume of a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, or the disciplined system fit of Jana El-Alfi, the glue center, earning the minutes that matter? The answer will define more than a rotation. It will define which version of UConn's defense arrives in the tournament. If Williams adapts, if she restores box-out discipline, abandons gambles, communicates early, and reduces her offensive role to simple finishes, she can still become what she was recruited to be: a stabilizer, a controlled interior presence, a functional weapon. If she cannot, the story shifts. Not to scandal, to structure, to the reality that in a program built on rapid reads, trust is not awarded by reputation, it is earned, one rotation at a time.
Prime Field!